Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And good morning. Aloha Friday. Gonna let folks filter into the room. Hi, Laura.
Morning. Good morning. Hi,
Morning.
Colin. How are you guys?
I'm so glad to have you be a regular face in these
Oh,
series. Thank you so
yes.
much.
Super cool.
You guys
Thank
are in
you.
for a treat today. I'm really excited about this workshop
Hey,
engagement mini series. It's really great, and I'm honored to have the Kumabis with us.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Aloha, Elza, Camilla, Leah, Tara.
Wow.
They're all not showing their camera.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Well, it is 9:02. Aloha and welcome, everyone. Aloha Friday. We're so honored that you could join us this morning. Today is the launch of a brand new mini series in a storytelling narrative way. And so, this is also a preface and invitation to you all as you come into this space and into this Zoom room virtually to engage with us, to really come wanting to learn as you already are, but then also we encourage you to ask questions along the way. And Robin and Colin, who I'm going to introduce to you in a minute, will also be asking questions for you. They want to learn from you as well as us learning from them. And just to really, go on this journey in finding out more about our justice impacted community members, brothers and sisters who are a great and vital source of Hawaii society. And so, with that, I'd like to also invite you as you're coming into the room, please, we welcome you. We want to know where you're coming in from, what organization, community, or hui, whatever hat you want to share with us today. Please drop in your name into the chat. We'd like to get to know each other. And then also the hui or the community that you're representing today. And so, as all things, I just want to quickly do some quick housekeeping things. I'm going to share just a little visual. Can everyone see my screen here? Okay. But yeah, I'd like to officially welcome you to today's webinar. We're introducing and launching a new mini series called Second Chances New Path. And it's a workforce storytelling series sharing the lessons learned and the stories of transformation and hope with an organization, nonprofit organization here in Hawaii called Touch a Heart, led by Robin and Colin Kumabe. Um, my organization, just a little bit about us, if you don't know about us already, we're a 501c3 nonprofit learning community of philanthropic foundations who really want to learn more about what's going on in Hawaii in terms of workforce opportunities, resources, the great work that everyone is doing to help develop and cultivate talent here in Hawaii. And then also find out opportunities where we can grow and collaborate together. The work I primarily do is we have this thing called a workforce equity lab, which is this virtual conceptual um, community and safe community of learning and exploring together transforming using different types of frameworks and innovative ways of thinking, not just culture, but also equity, empathy, human-centered design, and just really centering around the worker and the human-centeredness of what we're trying to do here. And so today, I'm really honored to kickstart the first in the three-part series featuring stories shared by Touch a Heart. And just some cool pictures that I got from Robin and Colin, talk about their journey. But I also want to introduce to you the heart, the minds, and the hands behind Touch a Heart, which is a wonderful organization that I got to know, I think, a little over 2 years ago, working through some of the other members of our community. And so I'm really honored to introduce to you Robin and Colin Kumabe, who are the hearts and hands of Touch a Heart. Robin is the executive director of Touch a Heart. She has dedicated years of her life and her passion and interest in helping to transform the lives of many individuals through food, compassion, and the opportunity to really live and grow through their stories. She is from the UC, she has experience in UCLA. She had a design school as a graduate and former entrepreneur. She channels her creativity and business expertise to help empower those who are justice involved, those who are unhoused, and helping to recover individuals through culinary training and the art of social enterprises, which she'll talk more about. Under her leadership, Touch a Heart has achieved a remarkable 95% long-term employment rate among graduates that have gone through their program. Proof that second chances really do exist and then can help change lives and really cultivate hope and true transformation within individuals and communities. Colin is Touch a Heart's Director of Operations and Training and the baker behind Baker's Heart, which is also one of their models. With more than 20 years of restaurant management experience at Zippy's, Colin has helped to develop the nonprofit Foodservice Training curriculum that they use at Touch a Heart. This helps them to equip participants with real world skills and confidence, and they have deep compassion shaped by years of working within and amongst serving Hawaii's homeless community and continues to inspire hope and transformation. So right now I'm going to turn the time over to them and stop talking because this is what we're here to learn. And really throughout this journey, we want you to learn and grow with us. There will be opportunities to ask questions and even answer questions. And here we go. I'm going to stop sharing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Robin.
I'm Colin.
And we thought we'd try and get a little bit of an understanding more about some of the assumptions that you might hold about those that are reentering or are the second chance populations. Question would be, would you hire them if you saw that checkbox mark that said that they were convicted of a felony? Or, what would be some of those immediate concerns that would be a part of that? So if you don't mind, please just write some of those answers down in there for us, and then we can take a look at that.
Okay.
I haven't seen.
Okay.
And then did you also maybe people if you want to come off mute or camera and share, would that help,
Yeah, that would
Robin?
be
Yeah, yeah,
wonderful. Yeah, just some idea of
yeah.
what your assumptions are about this community. We're talking about those that have been formerly incarcerated or going into incarceration. Are they people
Sure.
that you might hire? And if
Yeah.
so, or if not, why or why not?
Go
You,
ahead, Laura. Yeah.
yeah, Robin, we met, I think it was last week, around the employment journey with one of them. And that would be one of the questions that I have now after going through that training is just if that box is checked, I would want to know what was their journey to getting to where they are today. And
Uh,
I know that you can grab bits and pieces of strengths out of that conversation if they're willing to share. So I think that's what I would want to learn.
oh, very good. Yes, yes. Anybody else want to share anything in the chat box or even online talking? Okay. Well, yeah. Should we?
I was gonna say I can share. Similarly to what Laura said, I would always be interested in learning more about their story because there is elements of growth and wanting to change just from their taking this big step and actually applying, right, and filling out that form or that document, which then means, hey, I should also be looking at giving that person a second chance. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's what I would be thinking, yeah, of.
That's good.
I think that for many employers, because at Zippy's, at FCH Enterprises, which is actually more than Zippy's,
Where you worked before.
yeah, where I was before for 23 years. You know, in the HR side, we when somebody turns in an application, you look at their job history and they have a big gap. You know, one of the things you ask is, so what happened? Why is there something? And you can generally tell, and they don't want to reveal that. Now, you know, if they check off that box that have you ever been convicted of a felony, which is not actually currently
You don't have to
part of
fit
it.
that box.
No. But before it was.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was kind of like that is liability for the employer.
Yeah,
You
those
don't want
are
to take
things.
the chance that
Mhm.
something might go wrong, you know, so you do the interview and you find out, oh yeah, I was in jail, or you have to be careful what you ask, right? So in
Mhm.
HR.
Yeah.
So, you know, those kind of things bring up red flags. And
Mhm.
so, but in the current situation, this is what I find, and which has actually got opportunity for organizations like us, that they're willing to take a little bit more chance, because either that or you run with nobody.
Mhm.
So like we used to joke around at Zippy's, we're not digging the, you know, we're not scraping the bottom barrel, we're digging into the barrel.
Mhm.
And this cycle happens about every 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, so as far as labor force, I mean, you know, it always happens. It's for the last 30 some odd years I've watched it, and it runs in about 10-year cycles. So,
Yeah. So I think one of the things too, we'll talk a little bit more about this as well, but we want this to be as interactive as possible. So we do hope that you'll, you know, either raise your hand if you're online or on video, or just put a question in the check box and we'll hopefully be able to answer it. But for right now, we wanted to share a little bit about us. And so I'm going to share what we call our legacy video. And everything needs to have intention.
That's the thing about this place. You love yourself so much that you don't think about yourself anymore. It's about everybody else.
They really care about you. They were loving on us in a way that I wasn't used to. And they just made me feel confident. I wanted to just say, you know what, forget it. Take me back to jail. That's way easier than dealing with reality. Usually I give up and turn around and just run from my problems. But at Touch a Heart, they wouldn't let me.
Touch a Heart today is really what I believe has been my calling for my whole life. I know that I was created for something, and it's culminated through Touch a Heart. I grew up in a family that was fairly normal, very loving family, but there was a part of me that was always trying to please people. I was a very high achiever as I was growing up. I finally hit a road where I failed. I was a very broken person trying to please other people.
I had a very rough childhood as I was growing up. I did not do very well in school. I got into drugs, had 3 children, had gotten divorced. I did find a way to get into food service at Zippy's. They were very helpful. And because of them, I was able to really turn my life around.
I met Colin at church, and he was a single parent father with 3 children. I was gravitated towards him, not only his faith, but his love for the children. We worked together with a ministry called Touch a Heart, serving the homeless. In 2012, it just happened that the board of directors asked Colin and I if we wanted to lead this organization. We had always wanted to be part of Touch a Heart in a more integral way, and it almost just fell into our laps.
As I was working one day, I almost collapsed. I was taken to emergency and they found out that my kidneys had stopped working. It was actually such a blessing that Robin was a match. And so we became one. From that point, actually, on my recovery, we were able to hold an event that launched the new visioning for Touch a Heart as a training organization.
I think where we landed was that instead of just feeding the homeless, it is much more valuable for us to be training our people to find that in themselves.
Coming to Touch a Heart was a really safe environment. Over here, you learn to communicate, you learn to speak, you learn to share how you feel. When I came to Touch a Heart, I was freshly out of prison. I used to be really ashamed of going to prison. From the support and the nurturing of Touch a Heart, I'm now able to utilize that to help others.
Being here, I didn't know what to expect with this program. I didn't even have such thing as support. Whereas Colin and Ramen, they supported me day in and day out. And for me, being with that kind of support, it helps me change my whole thoughts, my whole behavior thoughts and everything. And realizing, wow, there's people that care.
Through this, I got immense support from everyone. The responsibility of the things that I've done wrong is one thing, but learning to love myself was harder. Today, I love myself. Today, I found my person, found my worth. I love me.
A couple of years ago, something very profound happened. As I was going through coaching, my coach asked me, what would you do for that little boy Colin as he was hurting? And I hit this huge epiphany that said, now I understand that each of the people that I train is the little boy Colin who was abused, and that I can help them get past that to attain a successful and sustainable life.
When Colin and I got married, I was actually getting married to an instant family of 3 children. And about 3.5 years later, I adopted them as my own. What is so significant about that experience is that I realized later on, as we are working with all of our people at Touch a Heart that come through our program, that I am actually adopting them into our family as well. All of the things that a mom can do to nurture and to provide for, that's what I do for our people. When we start with the end in mind, we start with excellence, highest value, highest quality. What most people don't recognize is that the most important ingredient is the people that produce our products. Now, what we want to do is build a legacy of our people growing, finding purpose, and being able to restore themselves into the communities that they are in today. I think, yeah, Mona put it into if you want to watch it again or share it. So that is where we began, a lot more about our own story. But we thought we'd start with providing just a little bit of background in the context, really, of our current system that really doesn't allow for success for the just involved residents here. So you can share.
Yeah, so one of the things we need to talk about as far as there is a pool of labor out there that can be tapped. We oftentimes see them as homeless individuals, criminals, druggies, all of that. And so we see that as an opportunity, a pool of resources. Some people call them resources. We just see them as people. And so when I looked up the statistics to, especially the justice involved, because most of the people who are homeless in the parks, which I have been in for as far as serving since the 80s. They're all justice involved, almost exclusive. I say a great percentage, maybe 70, 80, 90% are justice involved in some way, and dealing in drugs of some sort, rehab, taking it, currently dealing it. And so when I looked up the statistics of recidivism, reoffending, from Judge Shell, Warden Shell at OCCC, it's 58%. So a person that will go through prison will come out, and 58% of them will go back within a year. So you look at those numbers, that's current. That is current. And when you look at it year after year, by the 5th year, the number is still at about 60%. So this is a revolving door. Okay, this is what the justice system, the public safety has to deal with. And so let's turn that around and look at it from the person that's actually in this system. What they are going through as far as personally, why are they doing it? It's financial. The mentality that's built up in somebody that, and we came out of Salvation Army. It only takes one hit of ice to get somebody hooked. We've seen it. We've dealt with it. We've dealt with the trauma of it, and it creates a whole bunch of situations for that individual. Also, the impact of the public on them as far as socially, mentally, they become outcasts. Their brains are basically hijacked. So what happens is there's a displacement of them. So what we do is we work with them, we recognize, and
Yeah. So one of the things we asked, if you saw that checkbox marked. So for us, that's who we hire. Those are the ones that we hire, the ones that have that felony conviction checkboxed. And so the thing that when we bring them in, we actually do see them, as we shared a little bit on the video, as potential. They have so much potential, and we can see that potential if, we can work together with them. They have high value, they have high worth, and we begin to cultivate them and treasure them as people instead of outcasts, instead of the stigma, the judgmentalism and things like that. And, just even the act of hiring them is huge, because they have rejection upon rejection all the time. So that's something that is really something that they're facing, no hope, feel like trash, all of those things. Yeah, so those are the people. And I think we're going to go back to kind of the origins of this. Colin mentioned a little bit about the Salvation Army, and maybe you can just share a little bit more about that, where we started.
Yeah, Robin and I, although I was a little in drugs and did get into some situations, when I was in that, I'm sorry, but that was like 50 years ago. Okay, so it's been a while. So when I was in it, it was totally different. The drugs were different, and the whole environment of it was different. And currently, the drugs are so powerful. So when we went into Salvation Army, it was just such an eye-opener as to what, and they were women with the Family Treatment Services is the only organization in which women that have had their children go to CPS can be reunited with their children while they're going through rehab. So when I was there, and they were telling me stories of how these drugs would hijack their brains to the point that they would sell their kids and sell their body just to get the drugs. And I just could not believe, and it happens in such a short period of time. And unfortunately, we've had situations in our own organizations where that, I mean, when you're dealing with this demographic, that things like that happen, you know, where they relapse and things. So, but we were always constantly learning because we don't know enough. So it was very important in our environment that people know that they are important and that we are learning from them. We don't know a whole lot and we learn from them and we all learn from each other. We're a family and that is our environment. And we can get into that in more detail later. But that was the beginning. We started, I went to the UH Community College system and I created a curriculum, and quickly after that, I realized that it didn't work. So Salvation Army allowed us to rework it for about 1.5 years, and we started hitting a certain level of success, and then we started growing from that point, and that was in 2015.
Yeah, so yeah, we celebrate 10 years this year. But shortly after that, one of our models, by the way, is that we use underutilized commercial kitchens. And so Salvation Army at the time had a kitchen in their Kaimuki campus and allowed us to use it, and we certified it as a certified commercial kitchen. Shortly after that, we went to Central Union Church, which had an unutilized, nothing was being done in that kitchen. So we certified it and began doing our program there. And it was during that time that, you know, we were making the cookies. We'll share a little bit more about that next week. But one of the judges, federal judges, Judge Leslie Kobayashi, was at a nonprofit event, Women's Fund nonprofit event, and she saw our cookie. She tried our cookie. They were being given away as favors, and she contacted us. And she eventually brought the pretrial officer and the probation officer to visit us. And we started a pilot program with somebody that was going into pretrial, which means that they have not, some of them have not even said that they are, some of them, most of them have not been through sentencing for sure. And so they're in the very beginning of their journey going towards prison.
Okay, so I want to give a little background about that person. During her crime, it was a drug deal. She was a repeat offender in the state. She was on the state side, she was facing an open 40. So up to 40 years in prison. She was only 30-something years old. Okay, so, and the feds picked her up on the drug charge. So the feds, she was facing 2 charges on the fed and the state side. So this was her first fed charge. So that is the first client we got from the feds. So just to clarify who we were dealing with. And you wanna talk about what happened to her?
Well, so what we ended up doing is we're learning and we're visiting her. She eventually got sentenced to 1 year and a day, which in terminology there means it's under 1 year. So she got sentenced basically to 10 months. And because of that, she was at the federal detention center. We don't have a federal prison here. We only have a detention center. So she was there and we got to visit her. So we would visit her every Saturday and spend about an hour with her, or we could spend more than that. Yeah, we had maybe about 2 hours with her. And we just shared with her what's going on. We kept her employed with us. You can do something called, leave of absence without pay. And so she came right back in afterwards. But we learned so much about what was going on, and she learned and she kept track of what we were doing there, so that when she came back, she came right back into her job over at Touch a Heart. So this kind of starts the conversation about what we call the continuum of care. And I think, Colin, you were going to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so in understanding what happened there, we realized, for one, that's the first time I ever got frisked going through security. That was awesome. And so, you know, just going through the experience, going through those huge locked doors, going through that whole thing, and beginning to understand what is happening for the person themselves, and taking what we learn from them, their experiences in prison, and the thoughts and things that shape them, and starting to redo our curriculum. Yeah, we have hard skills. We teach them knife skills, and we teach them soft skills, how to work together. But there is something more than that, because what we realize again is people that coming out of prison, they're like, oh yeah, I'm never coming back. Yeah, I'm gonna do good. No problem with me, you know, and yet 58% of them go back. And so there is that problem. So in learning about that client, we also learned about the federal judicial system. We learned about what goes on for each single person within that system. And so a continuum of care, we start with a person, preferably a person with pretrial. In other words, they are awaiting sentencing, and we start training them, prepping them mentally, financially, socially. And in our organization, that becomes their peer support. Everybody, with the exception of 3 of us, have been in prison and or in drug recovery. So they are amongst their peers, and we never judge. So they feel very comfortable to be free to express themselves, what they're going through and all that. So as the care comes in, they're facing their sentencing. They don't know how long. Somebody has their life in their hands, and they go through the anxieties, and the peers will say, hey, don't worry, we got your back. You know, we already try to set up things in place. We make sure their taxes are being paid. We make sure their contacts on the outside know what's going on. As far as sentencing, where they're going to go, we don't know at the last minute. And then we can set up possible contacts within the prison system to help them if possible. And we learn other things besides that. Now, as far as coming out, exiting, many of them don't have employment. Many of them don't even have papers to get employed, and yet their probation officers are forcing them to get a job. And if you can't be employed and people start rejecting you, after a time, you start getting desperate. Then there's also the factor of the social aspect. Who do you contact once you leave prison? Is it the family and friends that got you in prison in the first place? Because a person is social, so they want to be accepted. They want to be part of a group. So they tend to go and find people that that make them feel comfortable, which is unfortunately the same group that got them into their situation.
Yeah.
So once, yeah.
I'm going to share a little bit more too. So when we talk about continuum of care, we also talk about if they would like, you know, we get involved with their attorney, their defense attorney. We learn more about their case. We help them even at times if they can't even read the documents and understand them, we'll read them to them and help explain things to them so that and the other thing that is quite beautiful is that because they have opportunities to share within our organization or with customers, they start having the ability or the confidence to even share their story or what they need to share with the judge. So those are all things that they gain as far as experience through us. And we, you know, help them with bank accounts, you know, like Colin said, if they come out and they don't have their documents, well, we can hang on to their documents for them. And if we keep them employed, we have those already set up through, the employment agency, and we can get them back into us first, and then they can go back to another job if they want to.
Yeah, so part of reentry is creating your exit plan, your reentry plan, which is your job and your housing. So if you don't have one, then things happen to you.
Oh,
So
yeah. One of the other things I wanted to share was that Hawaii does not have a halfway house anymore since 2019. So that means that not only don't we have a prison here, we don't have a halfway house. So when they go in, they're going to the mainland, to some prison on the mainland. So there's no ability for anybody really, unless they fly over there, to spend time with them, unlike the probation, the detention center here. And then when they come out, they go to a halfway house. We have a couple of our people that are or have been to, San Francisco, and the Tenderloin District is their halfway house. And so they're faced with, drugs right in front of their door, just a lot of crazy stuff. And there's nobody like a family or anybody to kind of care for them. So we do what we can to make sure that they know that we're there. Even, letter writing, talking to them on video conference if they can, emailing, phone calls, all of those things are part and parcel of that continuum of care while they're in prison and then coming
so
out.
speaking of that, the journey of the prisoner is trauma from beginning to end, and even after that, because for one, you're going free, doing whatever drugs, whatever, and then you get arrested. Okay, things are changing. Then you get thrown in jail, and then you're dealing with a total foreign environment in which you have to adjust. Some of them are forced to do things that they would never do in the outside world. And so they have to adapt to that. And there are influences in which people don't care about other people, and they will kill them. That's how you deal with in prison. And so how to keep them surviving and still stay above the line without getting sucked into the environment, and unfortunately, people start detaching from them, their friends, their family, and all that. So it becomes very lonely, so that the tendency is to get sucked into the dark side. And so what we do is we get people, whether it be the seniors or friends, to write to them, to call them, or they call them, email them, those kind of things that are available to them to help them stay above the line. As far as employment, that part about the leave of absence. If you have a job on going out, that's a plus for you. If you have housing and a place to go, that means you don't have to go to that halfway house. You can come back to Hawaii. So we know,
Many times, yeah.
yeah, and we're dealing basically with the federal system. State has those things. And so what happens is they come back to us if they choose. They'll come back to us, stay with us till they settle down, and then we reorient them, and then they can choose, if we have spots available in our social enterprises, we'll hire them there. If not, then we'll help them find a job. We have partners in which, some of you may have people that might be interested in becoming partners with us to help in employment if you're looking for people. So this is the kind of continuum of care we have. So
Oh, there's a question here. When you say come back to you, are you saying you provide homes for them? That is one area we don't have, but we also have partners that we know that can provide homes for them that are certified, because federal, when they're in probation, they have to be in a certain type of clean and sober home, if possible. But we do, by the way, one of our guys is living with us. Yeah. So yeah, our chef trainer, which you'll meet in a future, maybe next week's session, has been living with us too. So I guess if we can provide a home, sometimes we do then.
yeah, we're an empty nester, so we have an extra room. So and we've known this person for a
From
couple, he came
2000,
since
no,
2000.
2020.
Yeah, he came to us during COVID, and he just spent 3.5 years in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and again, we have some of those people we are tracking that have over 10 years that we're waiting and still supporting. So, and at one point we had 9 people across the federal system that we support. And again, we have people writing to them, people at the church writing to them, and things like that. So just so you know how the continuum of care works.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that, one of the things that when I was going through my branding business is that you have to understand the customer. My background is that understanding who the stakeholders and learning about that experience. And so when we look at our staff, our people, they are really our customer, those that are coming through. So that's where we start learning and growing and continue to grow as we're learning more about them, which I think brings us back to really that growth mindset piece, which is something that is really at the foundation for us all in there. And Colin, maybe you can share a little bit about that piece, which is, the hard skills, the soft skills, some life skills, but the growth mindset is really at the foundation.
Yeah, so one of the things, and you heard that in the video, is that when I hit that epiphany, it was about my, as my coach was, kind of taking me back, like, through my history and just asking questions about it and about, about that abuse that I grew up with. And it would be considered child abuse, in this day and age. When he posed the question of what would you do, right? I said that in the video, what would you do for that person? I realized that had started formulating who I was and the journey I took and why I went in the direction I went. And many of us that started the real journey of finding out how it is that we came to be. And for our people, we take them through that same journey. It's of really finding out who you are, from the very beginning. And I'll kind of give you almost like the spiel we do in the first day, and I just looked it up on Google before we started. I mean, how much is a human worth? How much is a human worth really in elements? And it says anywhere from a few dollars to about $200, depending if you're putting in carbon and oxygen and water and all that, And so that's what you're worth, and that's what you end up as, and so we all start out the same. And given certain circumstances, even identical twins, if they grew up in the same household, could possibly be the same. Could possibly, but if you split them up in their environments, they will be different because they are impacted in different ways, whether conscious or unconscious. And so to bring our people, our interns, our trainees into that, to begin to question, how is it that I am who I am, and is this what I want? And that really is the key point. Am I who I really want to be? Or am I still believing what I did when I was a little kid and still reacting the same way to the stimulus of this world currently? And so those are the type of things that we actually train, and we take them through that journey.
Yeah.
And so, and it moves forward from there in different stages, and we may cover those a little later. But that's really how it starts.
Yeah. So
Speak to that.
no, I think that I know we're on to 15 minutes, and we do want to leave some time for questions and answers. So we wanted to end with the very first exercise that we give our interns when they start off with us is about understanding change.
Yeah.
and how being able to understand change can actually help them understand how to change the way that they think.
Yeah, so one of the criterion to entering into Touch a Heart in the interview is we look for people with motivation, that they want to change. It doesn't matter if they know where they want to go or whatever, that they just need a change. And so when I go into the prisons, when I go into OCCC or Waiava or women's, I ask them, like, one of the first questions is, are you tired of this? Are you tired of this? How many times have you been in prison? And they'll say, oh, one time. Okay. Are you tired of this yet? Oh, no. Yeah, I'm tired. Okay. I don't feel it. Okay. I mean, when the guy says 2 or 3 and they're like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know how to get out. Contact me. Here's my card. Let's talk. Okay. And so we give them the paid internship and all that. So, where are we? Oh, okay. So anyway, we look for people with motivation. And what's so important about that? Our recidivism rate, I don't know, did we talk about that?
It's on the thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's
5%, about 5%.
about 5%. And yeah, there is people that retire or people that have gone back, a few. But there is certain criterion to entering Touch a Heart. So anyway, talking about the first exercise, it's dealing with change. And that's what I was kind of leading up to is, to understand what change is. So to understand change, you have to feel it and understand and experience it. So the first exercise is, what hand do you use to brush your teeth, right? So I use my right hand, right? So use the opposite hand for a week. And let's see how you feel when we come back.
So,
And tell us your experiences of what it feels like to experience change, the things that go on mentally, that
for your habits.
your habits and the things you have to fight in order to change, and why there is so much resistance, and how you mentally start battling yourself. Says, well, yeah, he said to do this, but yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to do it. All those different things that you go through mental process that leads you to do exactly what you're doing, even though you don't want to do it.
So our challenge to you, if you want to take us on this, is, try brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. And we'll talk a little bit about what was going on in you next week. But with that, I wanted to leave things open for questions. If anyone has, and anything else, Mona, that you want to share.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robin and Colin, for this just rich conversation and just sharing your story, which is really um, heartwarming to me and very inspirational. Just a lot of what you do within our community. So thank you to you guys and your team, and also for being willing to be vulnerable and brave, and also share the stories that you shared with the people that you've literally adopted into your family and are living right now within your home. Right now, we do have time for questions. If anyone has questions, please go ahead. Feel free to unmute yourself. Um, and if not, I have a couple of questions.
I do
Oh,
have a question, if
Go
it's
ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what is the process? It sounded like you do get referrals from judges. It sounds like you actually go into different facilities and talk with folks. If indeed I come across someone who is um, getting ready to transition into the community, would I be able to refer that individual to your program? And then what would they need to come with and be prepared for?
yeah. So the process is, we usually get referrals. We have, whether it's pretrial probation or Salvation Army or YWC or whatever. They usually vet first, and the first thing that would be important is that there is somebody, whether it's the organization or yourself, that we can talk to if certain things are not going correctly. And usually that's a case manager, somebody like that.
Oh, there are two other things.
Yes.
We cannot take sex offenders and we cannot take violent criminals. And the reason why is, you want to go take that? Why don't you take that? Sorry, she's getting a call from one of our people in federal prison, so it's kind of important we take that. But I can pick it up. So because we have a preschool on campus, we have that restriction. So, you know, to abide by the church and the preschool. So those are the two things in which we cannot take people.
What was
We
the
have
second one? You said,
sex
what were the two?
offenders and violent
Sex
criminals.
and violent crime. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so so those two we have to abide by because of the rules of the place that we're at. Yeah, other than that, it's basically referrals. We have had some where people personally referred people. And then if they are, you know, we interview them because we're going to hire them. They get hired. That's really what it is to enter into the internship. They're going to get a job. And so when if they do, if we bring them into a cohort, then they work for 8 weeks. We'll go through all the different processes of finding out who they are, what they want to do, what is their vision for the future, building a resume, looking for different employers, all those different things for them. If many of them want to stay, we can't keep everybody. It's just not possible. So if there are slots open, we may consider that, or we'll hook them up with a network person that we know, or even help them find job in the real world. Some of them are really skilled people. We have accountants, we have chefs, we have a lot of different people. So, you know, some are not very difficult. It's just that they need time and they need a stepping stone.
Is a cohort like a certain amount of time?
Yeah, it's 8 weeks. It's generally 4 to 5 people. The most we take is 5 because it's just too hard to manage and get to know personally 5 people and work with them intimately. So per trainer, it's 5 people max. And so, yeah, and it's 8 weeks long. And then they have the graduation. You saw the graduation pictures in the video.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the graduation video, graduates that we've had. And actually there are much more that we can't find those pictures, but again, we have that celebration at the end, and then we start making sure that they can find employment, if not before, because it's only 12 hours a week, 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, very short. So we already help them start, and some of them cannot, especially when you're in pretrial, when you're facing sentences. People don't, you've got 3 months before you get sentenced and going to go to jail. A lot of people don't want to hire those people, you know. So yeah, so we help them work through that. Good question though. That's what it is. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I can't read.
Oh no,
Tell
you're okay. I'm
Okay,
just
you gotta
making
read it.
sure, just making sure I drop these links in before I forget.
Okay, that's you.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just me. We still have time for 1 or 2 more questions. If
Yeah.
anyone else wants to go ahead and ask, call in.
Yeah, sorry, Robin did get a call from federal prison just now.
That's important. Yeah.
It is important. It really is important because, you know, you don't know what's happening with them. Just to give you a hint, when you get a call, they're going to say, you will say, how are you doing? They'll say, fine. And they don't know if they say, no, I'm not doing well. If somebody's behind them listening to that, tell somebody else and they get shanked. That's how bad it is. Okay, you don't know who's listening to you, like our chef. When he goes to the shower, he takes 2 other people because there's so much gang activity in the prisons that that's where they hit a lot of people, and it's racial. It's among the racial groups here in Hawaii and in the mainland, especially in the mainland. So those are the type of things we did not realize that they're going through. And drugs, it runs kind of free in there. You know, you can get whatever you want in there. You know, you have to ask yourself, why did Mike Miskey die of a fentanyl overdose? Other than the rumors and all that. How do you get it? You can get it. It's really easy. And that's what we learn. So, you know, it's not the things like our preconceived notions. It's really what's going on with them and how can we support them to be stronger, to survive that, to come out and still adapt back to society and still change to go upward, the upward trajectory, you know. Yeah, any other question?
Yeah, Colin, real quick. You guys talked about this really powerful network of the peer-to-peer sort of mentorship and guidance, right? Like within, people like the people that you serve and they feel comfortable when they're amongst their peers. Is that more like a informal or formal kind of relationship? Like, do you like sort of like assign like, oh, I think this person will work well with that person, or does that just naturally sort of like evolve?
Well,
It evolves, but we have what we call class and then updates on schedules and things like that. Every Monday, we spend 1 hour of training still, continuing to do growth mindset training with each of them. But it allows us to them to engage and feel safe, and sharing things within the whole environment.
yeah, and then the environment, like I said, is basically almost everybody is just as involved or in drug recovery and or. So, and they're all here and they're pretty much successful. That's why they're there. But they can talk freely and they can. So it's like my son has been into war. Like what my psychologist said is he needs his buddies, somebody that can relate to them while they're going through different things in life, so that they can hold themselves together. They know they have support. And that's what we create. It's rather informal. They eat with each other, they can take breaks with each other, but they know everybody has something that they know they can relate to.
Yeah.
And that is their environment. So that is our family.
I think it ties in very much to the social enterprises, which we will talk a lot more about next week. But thank you.
Thank you, guys. And that's actually a great segue into just, reminding our story listeners and sharers here about what's happening next week, because this is a three-part series. So next week, same time, same place. I think we have the Zoom link, the same Zoom link, but I'll also send that out again. We're going to be hearing from Robin and Colin again, but also with maybe one or two of their people who have gone through this change, this process of change and true transformation. And so we call that Inside the Kitchen, or Catalyst for Transformation. And we invite you to continue this journey with us. We will be checking in on the challenge exercise that they posed. Try brushing your teeth. For me, it would be my left hand. So we'll see how that goes. But we really invite you to come and share your questions and curiosities in learning about how we can best serve this population, as you well know, and through the stories that were shared. Thank you so much for joining us early this Friday morning. We appreciate you and your time. A huge, great mahalo to Robin and Colin for sharing with us their story and even the beginning of their story. But I also want to invite you for a call to action, right? What is one or two things that you can help just move the needle, right, in the justice involved and impacted population and community? Is it just checking out the website, Touch a Heart, signing up for One Ways to volunteer? You talked about writing letters, Robin and Colin, just continuing with that continuum of care, right, so that these folks don't feel lonely when they're shipped off to the continent. Yeah, so there's many, many ways to get involved and to help serve. But if there's any other questions, let me know. Put them inside the survey through the link that I just posted. And yeah, If you want to talk story, we're gonna officially end this now. But yeah, we feel free to talk story with us. We have a couple more minutes that we're gonna hang out with Robin and Colin over here. Thank you so much, you
everybody.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. Really, it's a privilege.
Mhm.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
Laura.
Okay, bye.